Have others been informed? The change in timings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Then it's okay. So we come to Act 5, Scene 1, which is one of the most famous scenes in Shakespeare. And for many psychiatrists, psychoanalysts, this is a kind of case study which they find uh, very interesting things, which uh, kind of give them something to something deeper, that is insight into mind's workings or the functioning of the mind. And as I said, that almost all important psychoanalysts have taken note of it and commented on it, uh, particularly after Sigmund Freud. You will find that there is a good deal of literature on the sleepwalking scene. But it is something very simple as we are concerned, that this what it is, sleepwalking in somnambulism. That is the technical term for it. Do you know this?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'll write you down then. Somnambulism. Uh, Now, what does it mean? What does it mean? I'm not asking you for the dictionary meaning of it. What is it that you know about this particular disorder? I've given you the clue that this is a disorder of the mind. What happens? And when does it happen? Orgo?
1 minute.
What happened? I heard the little mumbling and then Orgo has gone silent. What did he say? Arjo, do you have any idea? Huh? Can't hear you. Huh. So how does that anxiety express itself? What happens? That the mind is not fully shut, as should happen when you go to sleep. All right. Mind is partly shut and partly awake. So you will find that the eyes are open and they do things, but what is said and done, they are not registered by the other part of the mind, which is in a state of sleep. And it is, as I said, that it is a disorder, a psychological disorder. And of course, we can find many reasons, and we shall see what the doctor has to say, what the gentlewoman has to say. So these are part of the explanations that are on offer. Uh, you know, this kind of disorder is, mm, in fact, the very word disorder, as far as Macbeth is concerned, that this particular disorder in Lady Macbeth has some kind of relationship with the kind of disorder that we find in Scotland itself. Okay, so in a way, it is a reflection. If you remember that, your Lady Macbeth's famous words, your admired disorder, and the fact that the banquet ended up in a disorderly manner, and that the whole of Scotland is in some kind of disorder. And yes, yes. But the thing is, till that time, she has control over her own mind. But after that, uh, actually, there is a time lag, which the way the play has been set, you don't get a feel of that time lag. All right. So many things have happened in between, which naturally the play cannot dramatize, because that would be writing a history play. But you must keep in mind that between the banquet scene and your meeting with Lady Macbeth in her present condition, there is a time gap or lag. And naturally, it is part of a process, this deterioration. It does not happen um, in a single day. Okay. So, as far as what she was in the banquet scene was a different Lady Macbeth. And the Lady Macbeth that you meet in the in the sleepwalking scene is a different Lady Macbeth. Finally, she is not in a position to kind of control herself. She breaks down, and that breakdown is, uh, that breakdown manifests itself in this kind of psychological disorder, this somnambulism. Get my point, Tarjo? Okay, then. I have, the doctor says, now you meet another doctor, another incompetent doctor. I've already told you that we meet two doctors in the play, and both of them do not have the skill to cure the disease that they are, supposed to deal with. I have 2 nights watched with you, but can perceive no truth in your report. When was it the last she walked? Meaning walked in her sleep. All right. Since His Majesty went into the field, I have seen her rise from her. So this is a description. And throw her nightgown upon her, unlock her closet, take forth paper, fold it, write upon it, read it, afterward seal it, and again return to bed. Yet all this while in a most fast asleep. So, you know what is happening? As I tried to explain to you earlier, that she's in that no man's land. When the mind is partly sane, partly insane or disorderly, and this is what she does. And the doctor says it is, of course, a great perturbation in nature, disturbance that is, that there is something seriously wrong with her makeup, that is natural makeup, constitution, you can say, or mental makeup, as is more relevant here, to receive at once the benefit of sleep and do the effects of watching. So both things are happening. In this slumbery agitation, that's the poetic way of describing sleepwalking. Besides her walking and other actual performances, what at any time have you heard her say? Uh, she denies, because what Lady Macbeth has said have uh, criminal aspects to them, and naturally, this gentlewoman who is keeping a watch on her, she does not want to divulge it. But then the doctor says, you have to. I'm the doctor. And at that moment, Lady Macbeth enters. And how does she enter? With a taper, meaning a candle in her hand, which is lighted. How come she by that light? So why is it that she's carrying that lighted candle in her hand? Why it stood by her? She has light by her continually. It is her command. Can you explain it, Obiraj? Why is it that she commanded that she should have always a lighted candle by her side?
Sir, I didn't get the question.
Why does she keep that candle lighted all the time? And she had commanded everybody
I
to.
think that she is scared of the her own sins because a person can run away from everyone but cannot run away from him his or herself. That's
Oh,
what I say.
that's fine. But a simpler explanation is that she's afraid of darkness. And that has to be ironically contrasted with the invocation to darkness at many places in the play. I think you remember my discussion of those invocations to darkness. Isn't it ironical?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And also, there is this thing that, darkness is associated with hell, not only with evil, but also with hell. As she will later on say, hell is murky. So she is perhaps at the subconscious level or unconscious level, and now perhaps it is also entering her conscious level. That's why the mind is breaking down, that she is a condemned person, destined to be condemned to hell. And that's what explains her fear of darkness and the command to, have a lighted candle by her side all the time. You see, her eyes are open, but their senses are shut. That's what I said, the no man's land. Half of the brain is awake, half of the brain is shut. Or half, that would be wrong way. Part of the brain is open and part of the brain is shut. How much it is, we don't know. And then we are told about another of her usual activity during the sleepwalking, which is she rubs her hands. And the gentlewoman says it is an accustomed action with her to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her continue in this a quarter of an hour. Now, these are all descriptions. Now we hear Lady Macbeth speak herself. Ha! Sorry, she says, yet here is a spot. Out! Damn spot out, I say. One, two. Why? Then it's time to do it. Now, all those, to understand this particular um, speech, which is not logically uh, arranged, because naturally, in her present state of mind, it's not possible to have that kind of logical arrangement. One sentence may not have any connection with what precedes and what follows it. They are non sequitur, as they are called. Okay. Are you familiar with this non sequitur?
No, sir.
I have written in the message box. না মানে হয় না, তার আলাদা মানে, কিন্তু তার ওই সেন্টেন্সের সঙ্গে এর কোনো কানেকশন তুমি খুঁজে পাবে না। ওকে, because she is jumping from one thing to the other, and in a way summing up all the criminal activities that she and her husband had indulged in. 1, 2, 3, you remember? That was the signal, the bell that would tell Macbeth that everything was in a state of readiness. You remember that? It's
Yes, sir.
time to do it. Do it meaning killing Duncan, murder him. And then comes those words which I had mentioned just a little earlier. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and a fear. You remember how she had taunted her husband? What need we fear, who knows it, when none can call our power to account? Meaning, who will ask us to give an explanation or account of what we had done? These words were spoken earlier also. So, this is basically a psychic remembering of those things they had done, suddenly waking up. Get the point? That they were lying suppressed in her brain. That power she had, the temperament she had, because Macbeth would, speak out. He would chide himself. He would say it's wrong. This is what it is, and how would I justify it? I wish it were not so, and still continue with his criminal career. Lady Macbeth was trying to keep things shut up. She was not allowing an outlet. And now that her mind has collapsed, she has no control over its functioning, they come out as a kind of deluge, as a flood. So the memories of her waking life, they are coming one after another, without, of course, the necessary connection that should have been there if she had spoken it them consciously. Yet, who could have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him? So these are all, criminal acts coming out of the past. And that's why you remember the gentlewoman was refusing to confide in the doctor. But now Lady Macbeth herself does it. And then the Thane of a Fife had a wife. Where is she now? And it goes on like this. Again, the way she used to chide Lady Macbeth. Then comes that line, which is very famous, and we often quote this. Here is the smell. Yes, yes, yes. I am reading that line. Here is the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, oh, oh. And this oh is the cry uh, coming from within, the anguished self, or some people would say anguished soul. Now, if you remember, she had said when Macbeth had a similar, attack of conscience, he had said that she had rather said that a little water would clear us of this deed. But now she realizes that no, you can clean the blood from your hand. The physical cleaning could be, or cleansing can be done. But if your heart, your mind, yourself, or your soul is tainted, how would you remove those blood marks from your soul, from your conscience? And then Macbeth had described, uh, you know, that all great Neptune's ocean. But Lady Macbeth, she's presenting things in a feminine manner because perfume is generally associated or was associated. Now, of course, everybody uses it. Mhm. But traditionally, it was thought that perfume and such things were associated with female, uh, choices. They love this. And that's why, Shakespeare gives her this feminine metaphor. Uh, you can say that is a feminine equivalent to what Macbeth had said in manly and terms. And this is again very interesting and again ironical because earlier we had seen her rejecting her feminine self. Remember those words, unsex me here?
Yes, sir.
So it's such a rich scene, and each and everything that she had done and said in the past, they come back with a vengeance as she is breaking down. Her mind is, or her psychic makeup is disintegrating. And that's why I told you this is such a remarkable scene. And even psychoanalysts are at awe that how could Shakespeare present the workings of the human mind in a diseased state so eloquently and so what you call truthfully. Truthfully, truthfully is not the right word. Uh, Realistically, that is. That how could he have such insights into the functioning of human mind? And he did not read it anywhere. It was the artist in him, the genius. Because after all, mind has been like this, working like this, from the day the mind began working. It didn't wait for Freud to behave in a peculiar manner or a particular manner. And Shakespeare had that imaginative power to enter into that human mind and describe for us its inner working. Okay?
Yes.
Uh, so all the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. And then, doctor says, what a sigh is there. The heart is sorely charged. And then he says a little later, this disease is beyond my practice, beyond my skill as a physician. Yet I have known those which have walked there in their sleep, who have died holily in their beds. And finally, to bed, there is knocking at the gate. Come, 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 give me your hand. What is done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed. Then she goes back to bed, goes back to sleep. Now, you remember what the lady said? That this started happening after Macbeth had gone. And Arjo was talking about the kind of distancing that was, easily perceived in their relationship. Mm. So, it is this kind of withdrawal of Macbeth and his obsession with power and the kind of criminal activities that retention of power demands from him. At least that is what he thinks. Hmm. So, so since His Majesty went into the field, that is an important line. So as long as Macbeth was around, she could keep things under control. Once she goes, and as I said, the physical distancing had been there for a long time, and the distance was increasing gradually, and it reaches that um, point where things break down fully is when he leaves the castle to go to the battlefield. To Dunsinane. Okay, so there is a lot to talk about it. A great deal of this you will find in the literature available on this particular aspect of Lady Macbeth. And ultimately, you will find that she ends up as a victim. And that's the reason, in fact, there is a play called Educating Rita. Have you heard of it?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm writing it down for you. Educating, I don't remember now who is the writer, but you will. Okay, okay. I'll wait for you. Yes, it is by Willie Russell, Educating Rita. This play was originally in 1980, and there Rita, who is free from any critical baggage because she is a new learner, and this professor, of course, carries all the critical baggage with him. So the way he reads or tries to, read Macbeth to Rita, and the way Rita herself read it, there is a gulf, a wide gulf. And at one point, you know, she says she's a cow. And by cow, she means more of a fool who is a victim and sacrifices herself for the uh, kind of political success of her husband, and in return gets nothing. In fact, the more Macbeth is successful, the greater is his distancing himself away from his wife. All right. So that would, for me, take care of this scene uh, uh, where, as I said, her nature kind of takes vengeance, her feminine nature kinds of vengeance, because she had rejected it, tried to suppress it, and you see the consequences. This disintegration, this dislocation. Hmm. Does anybody have any question on the sleepwalking scene?
No, sir.
No? Then we move on to scene two. I won't read much. It's again a choric scene where we are told that English power is near, led on by Malcolm, his uncle Seward, and the good Macduff. All right. And what about Macbeth? When it is asked by one of the characters, what does the tyrant? And the moment he uses tyrant, you know, who does he mean? Great Dunsinane, where he has taken uh, his post, as it were. The great Dunsinane, he strongly fortifies. Some say he's mad. Others that lesser hate him do call it valiant fury, meaning the anger of a brave man. So those who are charitable, that is how they describe him. But for certain, he cannot buckle his distempered cause within the belt of rule. This metaphor is very interesting. The things are out of control. He is unable to buckle his belt, keep things under control. And that is an early suggestion of the beginning of the end. Okay?
Yes.
And then another character, Angus, says, now does he feel his secret mothers sticking on his hands? Now minutely revolts upbraid his faith breach. So he had broken his faith when he had killed Uncle. Now other things are, ditching him. They are revolting against him. Those he command move only in command, nothing in love. So nobody loves him. And then comes those line, something that I think I did refer to you, that, this is the climax of the clothing images in the play. And something I had mentioned earlier, that, uh, uh, you know, his title, now does he feel his title hang loose upon about him like a giant's rope upon a dwarfish thief. So he's a dwarfish thief, someone who has stolen the garment because he's a usurper. Okay?
Yes.
So that is it. That takes, we'll come to scene 3. We meet Macbeth. Bring me no more reports. Let them fly all till Burnham would remove to Dunsinane. So he's, still relying on what the apparitions had said. What is, yes, Arjo? Yes. That's, of course, this is basically, you know, uh, uh, keeping faith in a twig while you're getting drowned. Something that he would realize later. All right, so apparently he doesn't care, it seems, but he does. And then when the servant comes that there is 10,000 English force, so please you. So he's told that the English forces are marching against him. And then he turns to Satan. Now, of course, many people jump to the conclusion that during his last part of his life, he is attended upon by someone called Satan, because they find the name naturally very interesting. But that should not be the case. For those who know that Satans were, in fact, historically the traditional arm bearers of the Scottish kings. All right? So do not think that this Satan has anything to do with our friend Satan. All right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This push will cheer me up or disseat me now. I have lived long enough. My way of life is fallen into the sear. Sear means withered state. And the image that comes to his mind is that of a yellow leaf. And that which should accompany old age as honor, love, obedience, troops of friends, I must not look to have. But in their stead, curses not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not, Satan. So he cannot look forward to a happy old age when you're surrounded by friends and grandchildren and this and that. That is not for him. As I told you, he is his best judge. He knows what is going to happen to him. I'll take a minute because again, here now I have rain here, so things have to be managed a little. Give me 2 minutes. Okay, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So people will not respect me. They will curse me, even if they dare not curse it so openly, but they will. So as I had told you again and again, that Macbeth is his best judge. He knows what uh, is he doing and what are their consequences. Hmm. He will explain it to you. You don't need anybody else. And then comes the doctor again. Uh, you know, uh, telling Macbeth that there is nothing that he can do. And he, in fact, decides to leave Dunsinane. Uh, fine. So Macbeth is in a state where we know that he knows, in fact, apart from what the uh, witches or the apparitions had uh, mentioned, the hope that they had given him, and he would soon realize they were false hopes, and they were playing tricks with him. Mm. Their language was one of equivocation. Mm. So, and you get here when we find Malcolm in scene 4, Malcolm says, line 4, let every soldier hew him down a bough, a branch, and bear before him, thereby shall we shadow the number of hosts and make discovery are in report us. So he's asking every soldier as they are crossing uh, the forest, the Burnham forest, as we are told that this is the wood of Burnham, that every soldier cut a branch and hide himself so that our enemies would not get a proper idea of our numbers. But what purpose it is going to serve? Nullify one assurance that the apparition had given him. Now, these branches would be technically, at least Shakespeare would like us to believe. I feel disappointed, but then that is what Shakespeare does. That would be the Burnham Wood marching to Dunsinane. All right. Do you
Yes,
feel
sir.
cheated or you're happy? Yes, even now I find it to be a little funny. But Shakespeare had no option.
So because it's
Even they were very intelligent people. Don't think that just because all classes were there, not just the groundlings. Yes. So something is going to happen, uh, and that what the apparitions had promised, they would come true in a very funny way, as you rightly pointed out. I find it silly and funny. You may not agree with me, but that's how I have always read them. And I've been teaching it for the last 30 years, I suppose. Okay, there is the cry. He hears the cry of women. And it is Satan who informs him. Wherefore was that cry? The queen, my lord, is dead. And this is the last passage that we need to read in some detail. She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Apparently, the meaning is simple, that this was not the right time for her to die. Okay? Because he is now battling for his very existence. His very existence is in peril. And at this moment, his wife dies. So it was not the right time for her to do so. And later on, we would be told by Malcolm that she had committed suicide. Okay. But many people have taken this as a rather blunt, acceptance of his wife's death. The kind of epitaph that he's writing for his wife is something that people find a little uncomfortable. That how is he treating the death of his partner in greatness? Yes, yes, we shall see. We'll come to that because we will come to that. What follows, and that is what makes what these people have said all the more relevant, as if life itself is meaningless. Because this is the mental condition in which he finds himself. And at this moment, and we know that when he was saying that talking to Satan, that there is nothing that I can hope for. No, no. Shakespeare was preparing us for this particular speech, as it were, that he has lost all hope. When he says, "My life has fallen into fear," that is a hint to us that he is in a desperate state and he is depressed, and nothing positive is visible to him. Tomorrow, and then comes those famous words, where he talks about, in very negative way, he talks about that life is something meaningless. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace. What is this petty pace? Hmm? Yes, slowly, gradually. And there is a kind of boring repetition of tomorrow, followed by another tomorrow, followed by another tomorrow. Hmm. That is to say, life is something that is so boring, so meaningless, so repetitive, that one should not give it much importance. Creeps in this petty pace from day to day, from one day to another, that is. Uh, and when he says petty pace, you should keep another, it's not just the slowness of the movement, but also its triviality. That is what he has it in mind, I suppose. That in this petty pace, meaning in this trivial manner, from day to the last syllable of recorded time, meaning the smallest portion that of time that can be traced. Okay? The last syllable of recorded time, the moment when the world, just seconds before the world ends. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. And what is the end of life? You remember the biblical, famous biblical line? Dust thou art, to dust thou shalt turn. Remember that? What happened? Nobody is answering.
Yes, sir.
No. This is a famous biblical passage. In fact, many of the things that you have here, they are once again taken from the Bible. So all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. So that is the end of life. Dusty death. There is nothing that he finds admirable or remarkable about life. He talks about the repetition of one day followed by another. He talks about its triviality, petty pace, and he talks about the ending, mingling with the dust. And that's it. That's not a very happy way of looking at life. Life, I suppose, means a lot more than what Macbeth at this point of time is willing to grant. Now, let me tell you one thing. You should not take them as a kind of Shakespeare's understanding of life. That is what he thought of life. Many people make this mistake when they say Shakespeare thought of life like this, what he has said and what would follow in this passage. Please remember that this is a character in a particular moment in his life. Who is speaking? Of course, it is true that Shakespeare has written these lines, but he is giving these lines to a character. And ultimately, it is the character who finds himself in a particular situation at a particular moment in life who thinks of life in these negative ways. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So this should not
Yes, sir.
be read as Shakespeare's philosophy of life, Shakespeare's rejection of life, or the way Shakespeare sees life in such negative terms. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Out, brief candle. So life is presented as something no better than a brief candle. And this again is from the Old Testament, from my favorite book, the book of Job, where, the light shall be dark in his dwelling and his candle shall be put out with him. So as I said, many of the things where he talks of despair, they come from Bible. And that's the irony of things. Bible is a book which is supposed to give you life. But Macbeth plucks death and despair from this very book. Life is but a walking shadow. And if you remember, I had talked about the difference between shadow and substance in Shakespeare. So life has no substance, as it were. And again, in the book of Job, life is presented, life on earth are nothing but a shadow. A poor player. So human beings are poor. The poor doesn't mean bad players. That would be wrong to just think of bad acting. But the poverty that is in life itself, and these players, that is human beings, they represent that poverty. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage, referring to the affected and pompous manner in which an actor walks on the stage, because there he is the king, he is the minister, he is the hero, or he is the villain. But then is heard no more. So that is it. He ends up as a shadow. The play ends, the character ends. And they are just players, actors. And their life outside the role that they have been assigned means nothing, is of no value as such. Today, of course, there are stars. In Shakespeare times, there were nobody, unless you had one or two, of course, people who had acquired that kind of stardom. It is a tale, very famous line, told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So it's a tale. There is a lot of noise in it. But if it comes, you're asked, what does it mean? What does it signify? You will find that no. So, the idea is that life as we see it is nothing but, something that has a false appearance, which is nothing but a shadow. In fact, we can go back to Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, who had written in one of his letters that the drama of human life, wherein we are assigned the parts which we are to play so badly. So, as if it is ordained that we will play badly. Our life will come to an end which has nothing remarkable about it. I'm sorry, but that I have to discuss things as they are. But let me tell you that you think of Macbeth and how he feels, what is his mental condition, and particularly the loss of his wife, which has not been fully uh, kind of accepted by scholars and critics, that he is rather dismissive about his wife's death. But I think, it matters to him. And this nothingness that he sees in life started when he heard. And no, he is in a state of despair for some time now, but this despair kinds of swells and comes out in a flood of words when he hears that his wife is dead. How would you read it? Okay, that is another extreme, that it has hurt him so much. But yes, that is the death is the starting point of something which has been going on within him for a long time now. Okay, this despair is not something new. This began with the days he murdered Duncan himself. I would, trace it back to then. He suffers, but then he takes this kind of suffering into his strides and, moves forward, committing another crime, committing another crime. But the crime and the guilt, they are gnawing at him, making his body, his soul, whatever, his heart empty of anything substantial. He remains a poor shadow of the great hero that we had seen in the battlefield. Does it make sense? So when it is reported to him that Dunsinane is walking towards, the forest, the Burnham forest is walking towards Dunsinane, he loses all hope. When he says, come to line 42, I pull in resolution. So I am arresting, as it were, reigning, controlling, as it were, my resolution. And that shows that he's accepting defeat. His resolve to fight on, that has been given a mortal blow, as it were. And begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. So you come to that again. These are climaxes of the various image patterns. And when we talk about the theme of equivocation, here you see reaching its high water mark. That the fiends have equivocated with him. They lied like truth. So his only hope perhaps was in that state of despair that what the apparitions have prophesied might save him. But that's not going to happen. He now realizes that. And then he says, I begin to be aweary of the sun and wish the state of the world were now undone. As if it's not, he has lost hope to such an extent, his despair runs so deep that he wants the world to end it, to come to an end. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So, uh, and these are the moments where you find that you remember when I had told you that after the way Macduff's family, his wife and his children and his servants were massacred, it would be very difficult for us to emotionally identify ourselves with him. But these are the moments which kind of make you know, go back to him. Uh, John Donne, in one of his sermons, had said, not about Macbeth, hmm, but about human beings in general, that, and I read it for you, read it out, that is, thou knowest this man's fall, but thou knowest not his wrestling, meaning the way he fights within himself, which perchance was such that almost his very fall is justified and accepted of God. So his suffering, the way he suffers, the way he fights with himself, that is reason enough for God to forgive him and accept him. Do you agree? Hmm?
Yes, sir.
So that's what I said, that Shakespeare is kind of, giving him that tragic greatness which had, as I said, for many of us, had disappeared, had evaporated after the massacre at Fife. Yeah, that's the point, that he is this and he's also that. All right, let's come to the next scene 7. I'll skip scene 6. There is nothing to read. Hmm. Macbeth, again in a state of desperation, but this has something to do with the battle and his position there. They have tied me to a stake. I cannot fly, but bear like I must fight the course. What does it mean? What what is the reference that Shakespeare has in mind? Now, what is it that he has in mind? Where does these images come from? Or where do these images come from? Hmm? You remember what was the favorite sports of the Elizabethans? Bear baiting. So he thinks
There
himself to
was
be a
tied up
bear.
them.
Yes, that he is like a bear. Hmm. I skip a lot. Uh, Again, I come to scene 8, where Macbeth says, he finds himself totally um, kind of hopeless. There is not much hope for him to change the course of the battle. He is going to lose not only his battle, but also life. But he does not want to commit suicide. Something that Romans thought of highly, that I should not be killed by another's sword. Rather, I will die on my own sword. So he says, no, I will not commit suicide. Why should I play the Roman fool and die on my own sword while I see lives, meaning living creatures? The gashes do better upon them. So I would love to make wounds on their body. And Macduff enters. And yet again, he has nothing but terms like hellhound, fiend, this and that when he thinks of Macbeth or refers to him. So turn, hellhound, turn. Of all men else I have, Macbeth says, of all men else I have avoided thee. But get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already. So I don't want to fight you. I don't want to kill you. Because there is a sense of regret, sense of guilt that I am responsible for killing so many from your family. No, there is no confidence. There is, as I said, regret. Yes, you mean that I can, but I will not. That's it. Yes, of course, that could be true, but his more important thing that is, that makes sense here is that I should not have another blood. Meaning, if I kill Duncan, that confidence that you're talking about, if I kill, sorry, Macduff, I would be adding to my crime. As it is, I'm full of it. But Macduff is not interested in words. He wants the sword to do the talking. They fight. Macbeth, of course, still has little hope because no one born of a woman can kill him. Thou losest labor, as easy mayst thou the entrenched air with thy keen sword impress, as make me bleed. As you cannot kill the air entrenched, you cannot impress it, nor can you make me bleed, because I have something of a charm. I bear a charm life, which must not yield to one of woman born. So killing me is like killing the wind, the air, passing air. He still have that. This is the last of his hopes. Macbeth says, despair thy charm and let the angel whom still thou hast served, referring to Satan, tell thee Macbeth was born from his mother's womb untimely lived. Now, if it's a cesarean operation, untimely rape, isn't he born of a woman? Isn't Shakespeare playing with words, tricking us? What do you think, Abhiraj?
Yes, sir, he's doing.
Isn't it a trick? No,
Yes, sir,
don't.
because ultimately he was cut open from his mother's womb.
A mother was there,
Yeah, that's the
so he's
matter.
born of a woman. Whatever may be the process of the way he's brought out of that womb. So
I
as I said,
think.
I feel cheated.
So I think it's. I mean, the concept of normal delivery was not there. That's the reason.
No, that is the sense that Shakespeare used, but do you think that is convincing enough?
Uh,
A
to
normal
some extent.
delivery and a
To some
cesarean
extent,
delivery.
because that is something quite peculiar and absurd compared to the contemporary period.
But can't hear you, Arju. Okay. All right. Okay, I'll give it to you. And it was unnatural. Fine. Well, finally, as should happen, Macduff kills him. hmm, And then he re-enters, and that is where the play would come to an end, and that is where re-enter Macduff with Macbeth's head. You remember I had told you that they used to carry these heads as trophies to be put on their walls. Hmm. I think I had mentioned this earlier.
Yes, sir.
King, hail King, for so thou art. Behold, where stands the usurper's cursed head? And then comes those famous words, monosyllabic but full of power. The time is free. So time was in a state of bondage during Macbeth's rule. Now time is free. Remarkable. This is where genius manifests itself. Four monosyllabic words, but they say so much. Kind of sum up. I see thee compassed, meaning surrounded with thy kingdom's pearls, referring to all the people who have the important people of, yes, noblemen. That's uh, so thy kingdom's pearls, what that speak my salutation in their minds. So they are all saluting to the new king as I am doing. Ah, whose voices I desire aloud with mine, hail King of Scotland. So they all hail him, welcome him. He is now announced. Coronation investiture that would take place at a more appropriate time, but he is the new King of Scotland. And then, as a king, he speaks for the first time. We shall not spend a large expense of time before we reckon with your several loves and make us even with you. My thanes and kinmen henceforth be earls. So, for the first thing he does, he changes the title of his noblemen. They will no more be called just no more be called thanes. Uh, just a minute. Okay. So, henceforth, they would be known as earls. The first that ever Scotland in such an honor named. What is more to do, which would be planted newly with the time, and which includes as calling home our exiled friends abroad. So those who had gone into voluntary exile because they could not put up with Macbeth's tyranny, something that had India had also experienced. When you remember that in 1975, emergency was imposed by Mrs. Indira Gandhi in India.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So when in 1977, when she was defeated, many opposition leaders and many other people belonging to uh, kind of political class or intellectuals who had gone abroad because they could not put up with this tyrannical rule during the emergency. So they came back. So I remember it personally. That fled the snare of watchful tyranny, producing forth the cruel ministers. And then he turns to Macbeth's dead, not the head that has been of this dead butcher. So for Macbeth, his words, how he describes Macbeth, dead butcher, and his fiend like queen. Now, I'm sure you would not agree with him. You would realize there is more to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth than being just dismissed as a butcher and a fiend like queen. Something that is generally asked as a question that is it sufficient description? Do you agree? And the way Malcolm describes Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, I'm sure all of you would beg to differ with Malcolm's description. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Who, as it is thought by self and violent hands, took off her life. This and what needful else that calls upon us by the grace of grace. That's it. We will do this, do that, and everything. So it's done finally. So at least Macbeth is finished.
Yes, sir.
And we It was, and we didn't do any kind of injustice as such. We did get into the play, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
But that way will not be the case as far as solids are concerned. So when can we meet tomorrow? I think I'll be there, and the ideal time would be after lunch. Okay, 1:30 onward.
So I will be there before
I'll be
11.
there. Just let me know when you are
I'll
there.
be
Let
also
me
there.
know. 1:30 to 2:30. I don't mind, but
Okay.
I would like to meet and have at least yes. Hmm. Which classes?
Online class.
Huh? Yes, that can be done. The problem is that when the college is open and the classes are going normally, we are not allowed to take these online classes. Yes, like when I was, no, my problem was I was ill in such a way that my throat was the problem. So that I couldn't, even if I had wanted to, I couldn't. My usual problem is with my throat. So let's hope it does not happen. But yes, if
No,
it need be, we would do it. Take these classes online, unofficially. Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir. Maybe on Sunday.
Okay. I don't mind. And
Sir.
if the syllabus is top heavy, we can add this. Apart from normal classes, we can also have these extra classes when you are back home. Hmm. Yes, somebody else wanted to say something.
Yes, sir. Actually, it's not just my question, it's the question on behalf of all the students. Uh, our question is that, sir, is it possible to chalk out some key points which are to be which are to be kept in mind
I
for
think
preparation of the.
I had pointed them out in the course of my discussion. These are the things you should give importance to. Just now I said that, the way Malcolm describes Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Is he justified? Would you accept that? So that could be one.
Yes, actually, things are quite vast, so we are.
No, but the thing is, there isn't much was there. I mean, you remember the characters. Of course, it's not an easy play. It's a difficult play, but this is the shortest play. So you should consider yourself lucky. But I think I had been given many clues, like the theme of power, kingship. I think I have mentioned whatever is important. And if you go back to your notebooks, you will find they are there. I had talked about the opening scene.
Yes, sir.
I had talked about the battle between good and evil. If you think of in terms of themes, so power, good and evil battle, these are some of the things and the characters. Okay, thank you and good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for put
Thank you, sir.
thanks for putting up with me.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good night.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir. Note the কি প্রসেস করবোই না, দুদিন আগে করবো, পরীক্ষা আগে করতে বলবো। কলেজে যাওয়ার পরে পড়া মুড আসবে, আমার বাড়িতে পড়া মুড আসছে না, সোজা কথা। সামাই লিখে চলে আসবো, 5 মাস হয়ে যাবে। চ, ঠিক আছে।